Welcome to Dorks on Sports, a podcast about four dorks talking about sports. Thanks for tuning in. Thanks for being a part of the program. We have an exciting guest lineup today. Allanah can't make it. She's busy, living it up in Las Vegas, having a good time. So we have a good friend of the podcast, Matt Slinger. Thanks for joining us.
I am both your biggest fan as well as your only subscriber on YouTube.
That's great. So yeah. So this is just a full circle. Nobody's listening to this.
But honestly, you couldn't have chose better. I mean, I have actually watched every single one of your episodes. I usually have it on in the background, but I've listened. I am a big fan. I feel
I love that.
You're at a bit of a disadvantage because I know you all really well, and I'm the loose cannon.
Well, we're gonna get to know you and the rest of the 12 listeners. That's right. We have 12 listeners. At least
our 12s of listeners.
Yeah, our 12s of listeners. We have Curtis over here, as always. How are you doing over there, Curtis?
I'm doing well.
Yeah, you look well.
Yeah.
We have a lot to talk about. I'm fired up for this one. This is buckle up, everybody, because this is going to be a fiery podcast. We got Millie over there. How you doing, Millie?
Hey.
How's the fantasy team?
Doing great. You know what? Honestly, I'm feeling real good. Obviously, I had a bye week last week, but
okay.
Heading into this week for my what do you call that? Semifinal? I can never remember. So I'm taking on a really good team, the team that has the most points, but their record didn't show it kind of team. So that should be interesting.
That's usually the team I get. Who's the quarterback?
And, for whom?
For this other team.
I'll tell you in a second. I don't pay the right attention.
You're not doing your research. You're not watching the tape. What kind of?
It's fantasy football, so I only care about my team. I can't.
Okay, I got you.
I can only beat myself in fantasy.
Yeah.
Phrasing. It's Kyler Murray.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, he's pretty good.
Yeah, he's pretty good.
I have Josh Allen, but I'm thinking about benching him for Joe Burrow this week.
That's a tough one.
It's a tough one. They've got New England, and New England is smarting after last week. So
and they're gonna want to put the hurting. No, I know that's true. I don't know, but listeners, maybe you should tune in.
I'll tell you what though, I'm having more fun with is my consolation bracket over in the Folger Shakespeare League, where the winner of the consolation bracket this year gets to choose where they draft. So it's a keeper league. So if you want to keep your first round pick, you can put yourself in the 6th spot. So when the snake draft comes around, you're in a good position. So there's reasons to actually win the consolation bracket. For me, it's mostly pride though, because I came in last. So I'm pretty sure I either get first pick or second pick.
Nice.
Anyways, as always, thanks for listening.
I'm rooting for you. I'm your biggest cheerleader.
Oh, thanks.
Yeah, you're welcome.
One team is called the Fluffernutters. And that's my major championship team.
I like it. Yeah.
And my Folger Shakespeare team is called Malvolio's Revenge.
For all you Shakespeare nerds out there who can get that reference, that's a great team.
Thanks.
I think we've got the Venn diagram of Seahawks fans and Shakespeare fans, right? That's our listenership.
I think so.
Yeah. I don't know.
I got a blog called 12th Life and 12th Night.
Right. I like
Absolutely.
it. Okay. Let's go. Listen, I have a lot of thoughts about this game. This was the most frustrating game of the season for me. And I'll tell you why. So sure. The Seahawks beat themselves in a lot of ways. Our all-pro quarterback missed a ton of throws. The run game was actually working. The best drive of the game was a run first smash mouth, ended in some points. And for some reason, we got away from that and just started throwing deep shots. But we got jobbed by the refs. And listen, I'm not the kind of guy who's going to be making excuses about officiating or anything, but Curtis, on a scale of Vinny Testaverde running his helmet in for a touchdown, or the 2005 Super Bowl against the Pittsburgh Steelers. How frustrated was this officiating for you?
I didn't sleep that night. I might have slept for an hour and a half. I shit you not. I went to bed probably around 10:30, exhausted, emotionally wrecked. And I had no expectation Seattle was going to win that game. I was the only one out of the four of us last week that predicted a loss. And I thought actually they're going to lose pretty bad. So when it looked like Seattle was going to be in it and they were maybe going to sneak this one out, and you know the freaking refs got the call from somewhere, I'm not who the fuck knows, but like there were phantom calls that were made against Seattle, and there were like
and no calls,
and there were no calls. There were at least 3 egregious no calls.
That egregious pass interference.
Yeah, and the Greg Gaines, fucking former Huskies, so that pisses me off too. I hate it when my rival teams draft Huskies.
Yeah,
it pisses me off every single time. I swear to God, they do it to troll Seahawk fans up here. And it's like, so Gaines freaking hits, you know, Russell Wilson right in the chin with his freaking helmet while he's trying to, like, you know, dump off the pass. Total no call. You know, Russ is like, who wasn't playing great, was like looking around the refs. Are you like, are you kidding me? You know, I mean, the announcers mentioned it and stuff. And then, yeah, I mean, the thing at the end with, there is no universe out there that exists where a ref does not call pass interference.
It was the most clearest example of pass interference.
There was no universe that exists where a reasonable minded ref would not call pass interference on that play at the end, and there was no call. And you know what? I cannot blame DJ Dallas at all for kicking that ball. I would have freaking kicked the ball right at the ref's head.
Yeah,
on that. You know, it was like. So yeah, I didn't sleep that night. This was actually, I think, and I've been a diehard Seahawks fan since 1983 was what the year that hooked me into this team. And I cannot remember ever sitting down and watching a game, and this including the game again against you know, the Steelers in the Super Bowl and the Testaverde thing in the 90s. I cannot remember a worse officiated game where it is so lopsidedly against my team. And so, you know, it'll be a fun discussion to get into later. But yeah, that pissed me off more than Russell's piss poor play at the end of the game.
Yeah, Russell Wilson, by the way, recorded his lowest Pro Football Focus grade of his career.
It was bad. It was bad, and it was. I was pretty upset with how that went down too, because how they started. I mean, that game, the drive coming out of the half was just so magical, and it was such just textbook Pete Carroll style of football. And you know, that's, you know, I mean, the Rams are our kryptonite, but guess who the Rams kryptonite is? It's the 49ers. And what do the 49ers do? They're a ground and pounded game that dinks and dunks. Yeah. And that's what we did in that drive.
And then we got away from it.
And we
taking some shots down
over 5 minutes
with an inaccurate quarterback.
And then we got out of it.
I know. And here's the most frustrating thing for me is that our offensive line, I think, actually played pretty well against that Rams D line.
They had a good game.
They had a good game. So Millie, my question to you, do you think your pocket locket would have been a game changer?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
It was so incredibly obvious with some of those throws that were just, you're like, wait, who's he throwing to? It was like he didn't know how tall anyone was, you know?
Yeah.
And then it was, you know, he threw, there was one, I think it was one of the ones he threw to DK, where if he had just thrown it to him in stride, he would have had it, no problem. But he didn't trust him to do that because that's what Lockett does. So he tried to throw a rainbow to DK. It didn't make any sense. Like, and then it happened again on the other side. Like, who was it? Was it I can't remember if it was Swain or Eskridge.
Eskridge. I think there was maybe one to Eskridge.
Yeah, and they were just off in a way that you felt like it was because nobody is where he thought they should be as far as what he thinks of his receivers and how he likes to throw them the ball.
Yeah. I've been feeling that ever since he came back from injury. His aim has just been weird. It's like he's throwing balls behind people and on the wrong shoulder. I don't know.
He's overthinking it. We were right
100%.
back to where we were before, because last week, one of the things I talked about was it was so nice to see that Russell, who is the Russell who you can feel like they are 100% in control of their game. There is a calmness and a focus. Those were all those things that were so great. And if that was even there in the beginning, it was gone 5 minutes into this game. And he was back to frantic. I don't know what I'm doing. And the refs aren't on my side. And here, have a ball.
Yeah.
Throwing things like, here, I don't want to get hit.
Totally. Like in the last 2 games that he won, he was playing free. Like he obviously, I think no matter how much Russ tries to deny it, he's playing hurt. I know that finger is bothering him, and that has some to do with his mechanics. But in the games that he won, he was playing free. He was playing loose. He was playing instinctual, which is his game. And in this one, it's like there's a worm in his head this season, and I don't know what it is.
Well, and in this, I will, because I don't want to sound like somebody who every week either loves Russell Wilson or thinks he should just go. He is still a fantastic quarterback. Yes. And he's also dealing with a line that just can't do anything for him half the time. And I don't even know how far we want to get into the COVID availability and ridiculously that went down last week.
Yeah.
But
and playing against Aaron Donald, who was, designed by God to beat Russell Wilson.
Yeah. When you say things like you said it, that he gets in his head. I think that was you, Curtis, like that he lives in his head. Is that what you said?
Yeah, he does. I think
those numbers are sick.
Yeah. He is feeling 99, I think, whether he's there or not. I just, there's if there's credence to the idea that that Russ is looking to get elsewhere in the not too distant future, there's a lot of assumptions that it's Carroll and the way he runs the show. I wonder if he wants to get out of the NFC West just so he doesn't have to play
Aaron Donald,
because he is a way different quarterback every time he plays that team. He does not play
100%. They have his number.
Part of it is because Seattle hasn't invested enough in the offensive line to make it, to give him a stronger chance against playing Aaron Donald. But the other thing is even when Aaron Donald is blocked, I don't think Russ trusts him.
Well,
and so he hurries things, and
that's what exactly like. It's like he sees ghosts a little bit when he's playing the Rams. He just kind of, I think, expects that Aaron Donald is going to break through that line. I don't know. What I can tell you is that the decision to postpone that game made me furious because it feels like Seattle, which is like the one team of all 32 teams, the NFL, who's really taking the COVID pandemic seriously, up until the Omicron variant. Welcome back, Matt. Up until the Omicron variant, the Seattle had like 1 infection this season. Okay, so now we get the freaking Omicron COVID Rams, and all 53 of their players come down with COVID, and they postpone, and now they get Jalen Ramsey back, and they get all their good players back. Meanwhile, Seattle's trending the other direction, and it just feels like Seattle's getting punished for doing the right thing. I don't know, and so this is what I want to get into this. Yes. I'm not a conspiracy theory guy, but it really kind of felt like this week the NFL was just like, like they just had it against they just had it out against Seattle, right? So it's like, oh well, no, let's get the Rams. They got to get them healthy. As Seattle's winning again, well, I don't know. They might sneak in on a losing record and beat the defending Super Bowl champs in the first round, like they did in 2010. I don't know, Matt. Tell me, who in Roger Goodell's office has it against the Seahawks? Let's follow the trail here.
This
Where's the
warms
money?
my heart. This really warms my heart. I love that I've been brought in just for the conspiracy theory episode. I swear I'm not that guy either. Like I believe in human error. I believe that conspiracies are very, very difficult to pull off because people are terrible at lying. Having said that, every major sport, boxing multiple times, hockey, basketball has had their share of
baseball's notorious.
Of referee scandals. So it just feels like the NFL is due. The NFL has just put so much power into the ref's hand. They can control the tone and tempo of every game. They can change the outcome of a game, or just throw a flag and slow it down, and maybe like stop that score from happening. And they'll be like, I don't know, holding, because there's holding on every single snap in the NFL. So I don't know who specifically has it out for the Hawks. Although I was reading 12th Life this morning, of course, and it makes sense that the Rams, they had to relocate to LA and the fan base isn't really there, and they're going to be holding the Super Bowl there, and the NFL could be just scrambling to make sure that they get their team in, and that it's well attended, because the Seahawks can't be spoilers in that case.
Here's my theory. This all goes back to 2014 when the Seahawks defeated Peyton Manning and the Broncos by like 89 points. I think the NFL was angry with Pete Carroll and the Legion of Boom and this new hotshot quarterback, Russell Wilson, for making a boring Super Bowl, and they're just playing the long game. Curtis, what do you think?
I've got a lot of thoughts on this, but let me try and narrow them down.
By the way, I just want to say Seattle has been we've had the worst calls against us. Like, I just rewatched that Vinny Testaverde touchdown just because, I wanted to make myself angry. Mm-hmm. And watching that again and reliving that moment in 1998, where it was like clear that he didn't run the ball in for a touchdown, and yet it got called a touchdown. Like, the whole thing came on, and I just had it felt exactly like this Rams game and that Pittsburgh game. And what is it with Seattle? I think the only time we actually got a call that went our way was that Green Bay Hail Mary.
Oh yeah, the Fail Mary.
The Fail Mary. Which is probably the Aaron Rodgers villain origin story.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know.
Here's my theory on this. I too do not subscribe to the conspiracy theories that generally get floated out there. I don't even think. I sort of think that Oswald acted alone. Okay, that he was just a fucking nut who target practiced long enough and sat in a fucking tower and took a shot at a president and like offed him because he's a fucking nut. I don't think it was the deep state. I don't think it was the mob. I don't think it was the Russians. I don't think it was like Lyndon Bain Johnson or whatever the fuck that president was that took his place, Kennedy. I don't think Dick Cheney was the mastermind behind 9/11. I just, I don't generally buy into conspiracy theories, but here's what I do buy into: that we live in a capitalist society, and the NFL is a very, very powerful business, and football has historically never done well down in LA.
That's true.
Anybody that knows sports down in LA knows that it is a Lakers town, and then it is a Lakers town, and then it is a Lakers town, and then it's a Dodgers town, and then it's probably USC football town, and then it's probably UCLA basketball town, and then after that we start dealing with the Kings, and we start dealing with the Rams and the fucking Chargers that are in there now. So the NFL knows this, and they need the Rams and the Chargers to make a shit ton of money down there and fill out those seats and get those like fair weather, come from all over people that are trying to like be like fucking, stand-up comedians and find their way, on television shows and all that sort of shit. And they're from different parts of the country. Like people are down there and they're Philly fans. People are down there and they're like,
it's a city of transplants.
They're like Brooklyn fans,
Right.
And so like in 1994, that city lost 2 professional football teams because they weren't generating enough money. And it took them over 2 decades to get 2 teams back into that gigantic market. So they're hosting it. I'm not going to say that like the league, manipulated this game, but here's what I'm sort of feeling. They're hosting the Super Bowl down there. It would probably be really great for the league if the Rams got their were able to sort of copy what Tampa Bay did last year and playing in a Super Bowl in their own city. There was probably very little expectations that Seattle would, given the rash of injuries, how bad the team has been playing, that they would go down there and beat a Rams team that has pretty much owned them ever since Sean McVay became the head coach, and has actually kind of owned Seattle a bit, even when that terrible coach of Jeff Fisher was there. They've for over the last decade.
In the Pete Carroll era, the Rams have been
the Rams have been the bugaboo team. So it's like, they pushed the game back from like Sunday to Tuesday, and that hugely benefited the Rams. Yep. And it hurt the Seahawks.
Yeah. And now the Seahawks have to go into Chicago on a short week.
And then going into halftime, miraculously, Seattle played up to beyond expectations, and they went into the half with a 3-3 tie. Came out of the half and scored a touchdown. Gorgeous, 5.5 minute touchdown drive to get up, 7 points. And it was a 10-10 game going into the fourth quarter, when all of a sudden these calls and these no calls started to happen.
Yeah, listen,
so I'm not saying that this is some deep state NFL conspiracy thing going on there, but there's a lot of shit that when you look at it and you look at the way everything, everything just sort of, can't even say the word to describe it. That how everything.
Do your own research is what you're saying.
What's that?
Yeah.
Do your own research.
I looked into the future. Curtis has a YouTube account a year and a half from now, and he's doing YouTube videos about the deep state conspiracy against the Seattle Seahawks. Millie, what's your take?
I think it's more the deep state conspiracy to make sure that the Rams freaking win. And the whole, and going back to that whole NFC championship game, down in New Orleans a few years back, and that stupid, that no call on that game that cost, Sean Payton and Drew Brees the opportunity to get back to their second Super Bowl.
Yep.
You know, I mean, there's just sort of like a dark cloud around, you know, how, you know, calls benefit the Los Angeles Rams, you know.
Yeah.
I think calls benefit, we talked about it before we started. I'm seeing calls benefit LA teams, and then they benefit California teams. And I felt like I saw it tonight on Thursday Night Football in the first half of the game with Tennessee. And then Tennessee just said, no, we're going to win this game no matter what. But I do feel like last week, early on, I was I wouldn't say defender, but an understander of what was happening. Our game was going to get pushed, but so were two other games. It wasn't just our game. So I didn't feel quite so persecuted. But it did seem like for these three games, it was this sort of, well, we think these teams have a great shot for the playoffs, and you're underdogs, and you're not the biggest markets. So it makes sense to do this.
Yeah,
And
we'll put you at 4 o'clock on a Tuesday.
Right. That's yeah. And I think that's where a lot of people, even though it was more than one team, and even I was like, it does seem curious. But I did also feel that, you know, the intention behind the rules that were made for this year for COVID were mostly made to help reinforce why it was important that players get vaccinated, and that, you know, to play as a team, you all need to get vaccinated to protect each other and to keep yourselves playing, or you could have to forfeit. Like, you know, there were consequences. But because something came along that it didn't really matter if you were vaccinated, it's clear that especially if you got your vaccine earlier, you know, this new Omicron variant, and it's just suddenly exploding. And that wasn't something that we knew was a high probability thing. Like, you know, I made the excuses. I felt like there was some rationale to the decisions that were made. But as things progressed, I definitely started to feel like these choices are being made for financial reasons. That, you know, I've read a few different things. There's feelings about even within I don't know if it's the NFLPA,
the NFL. Yes, the NFL was going to postpone at least the Seahawks Rams game, and I think there was one other. I only know the Seahawks game because that's the news I was reading. But it was going to not postponed. It was going to get canceled, and the Seahawks were going to be awarded the win. The NFLPA stepped in because the players protested. They wanted their game check, because if a game gets canceled, then the players don't get their game check. So instead of having a big long fight with the NFLPA, the NFL instead postponed the game.
Sure. There's that. Then there's also the story that I was reading, which is and I'm not sure if it's the NFLPA, it's one of the groups of players association type deals. And the chair is the center for the Browns. So they felt there was some feeling amongst many players that if it wasn't the Browns involved in all of these problems, this individual would not have pushed so hard to make all of this happen, but it was his team. So all of a sudden it was way more important that their game,
the money.
Right. I mean,
all the money. This
constantly goes back to who has the power and where is the money
and who benefits from it. Yeah.
But also it is a business. And of course that's going to play into it. And we try to make it sound like these things are all creative with these altruistic ideals. And at the end of the day, it is a business.
You know, especially the NFL, which is like a huge monolith, right?
But here's where, as a fan, it's so frustrating, is it did feel like, oh, Seahawks, you're like eliminated anyway. But we weren't. And we're not. We're still not technically. And it's mind-blowing that, especially for a team that has come out of nowhere multiple times to get deep into a Super Bowl, like, this is not a team you should ever count out at that stage. So And I felt like that was kind of how all of these decisions went. So it's just such a big screw you to the fan bases where like, I get why you would maybe want to make this monetary decision because it looks more likely for the Rams to go far and a great opportunity for their franchise and their new location and all of that. But you're taking away my path. You're making it more difficult for my team to get further. And then I had another thought and I just lost it, but it's not fair. And it's the same thing with the calls. That's the other thought with these refs is I'm not saying we would win this game. What I'm saying is you took away the opportunity. You took away our chance by making up shit or not seeing things that were clear and obvious. And did any of you see the Adrian Peterson posts?
Yes.
Like, children crying, like it's so dramatic, but at the same time, I mean, that's it, right? It's like you took away a possible path and gave me the 0.01% chance, and it's not right. And the fact that I understand that challenging things like pass interference just became such a huge minefield. But at the same time, when you have these moments, it's like somebody's got to be able to do this. And to say that even New York can't come in and stop it, like that's why we gave them this power. So why can't they? When it is that clear and obvious, why can't New York stop the game?
I wish PI should be a challengeable penalty.
Absolutely. Bill Belichick, like about 3 or 4 years ago on the competition committee, he was lobbying hard for the ability to challenge penalties.
Yeah.
And non-calls. And I thought it was a fucking great idea.
Yeah.
But like the league, didn't want to do it. And the excuse was just like, oh, well,
it'll draw the game out and blah, blah, blah.
And it'll, all the refs are going to be second guessing themselves about everything. And it's just like, who the fuck cares? Yeah. We want to see the game called consistently right.
By the way, I just want to say Adrian Peterson, like he's dressed one game and he played like 6 snaps, but he tweets like he's been a diehard Seahawks fan for 25 years. I love that. I like that energy. I don't know. I love this like Grandpa Peterson like on the Seahawks and not playing. I don't know. I like it. Yeah. Adrian Peterson, welcome to Seattle.
This stuff with the refs, whether it rises to the level of like just incompetence or grand scale conspiracy, it takes away what little joy remains in the game when you pretty much know the season is over. You pretty much know the Pete Carroll, Russell Wilson era is probably coming to end. So would you just let me enjoy these last few games? I don't expect to beat the Rams. I don't expect to beat the Rams, but just let me like watch a couple of cool plays and maybe it's a close game or something. And then they drop in the complete X factor of, no. At any point, we can just destroy your world.
Did the NFL, I think the NFL went, listen, the Seattle Mariners are coming up. Seattle's like, they got that. Like we can bring the Seahawks down a little bit. I don't know. So we
could stay with all the capitalistic sort of motivations of the NFL deep state and going like, man, if we get the Seahawks to really tank it and poop all over themselves for these remaining games.
We can get
Russell Wilson
in New York.
is going to demand a trade to the New York Giants. We'll get Russell Wilson in New York.
We'll get Russell Wilson in the biggest market.
The Giants organization.
Oh, Curtis, you hit it. It's like, folks, I think we just figured out the conspiracy. We figured it out. That's it. Oh man.
Get used to Danny Dimes in Seattle next year. That's what the NFL wants.
We're going into Chicago in a short week. Our all-pro quarterback who's got a gimpy finger just ended up on the injury report again with a bum ankle. Full participant, but he tweaked something in the Rams game. One of the linemen fell on him weird. So we got Russell Wilson with a rolled up ankle. We got Tyler Lockett still out on COVID. And Chicago on a short week. Chicago, by the way.
Lockett's back. Sorry, he's
back. Well, that's good. That's good news. That gives us a little bit of hope. Chicago is a team that this season has been the kind of team that can beat the crap out of the Seahawks, right? Like a good defense and like a quarterback who can make all the throws, even though he's not very good. Our linebackers can just, leave holes 25 yards wide open for quarterbacks to complete those like little soft zone passes. So I'm not feeling great about this one. I'm not feeling great. And I'm just going to give my prediction right here. I think it's going to be, I hate to say it, I think it's going to be 13 Seahawks and like 20 Chicago.
I'm shocked that you would say that.
I have zero faith. There's a giant depressive Seahawks 12 cloud just raining all over me.
Black and white striped cloud.
That's it. I don't have no idea what to think. I feel like Pete Carroll, which is just, confused, sad, old.
Soiled
Bears
underwear.
are really bad. You know that, right? Like they're actually really bad.
Yeah, they are. I looked
They do have a hell of a defense, though.
What's that?
They have a hell of a defense. Their defense looked good.
Yeah, but they give up a lot of yards on the ground.
If we would stick to the run game.
Okay.
If we would go like, this DJ Dallas kid, he's running 4.8 yards a carry. No, he doesn't need to run it anymore. Let's take the deep shot. Let's have Russell Wilson throw to DK Metcalf into double coverage.
Or let's throw it at DJ Dallas's back on 4th down.
Still should have been a PI.
Absolutely.
What's your prediction, Millie?
I don't want to go yet.
Okay, Curtis, give me your prediction.
I think Seattle's going to comfortably win this one.
I hope so.
The Bears are playing with a rookie quarterback who's thrown 7 touchdowns and 10 interceptions. He hasn't been very good. They're one of the worst scoring red zone teams in the NFL. Seattle has one of the best red zone defenses in the NFL.
That's true. By the way, bonkers stat. Seattle is like 32 in yards. Their defense is number 32 in yards and like number 4 in points.
Number 4 in points. I think they're maybe
that's a bonkers statistic.
Third downs. Like there's a lot of stats.
It means they give up all their third downs, then they have a stout red zone defense.
They're not a good pass. Seattle's not a good pass rushing team, and they give up a lot of yards, but it's a weird defense. I can't tell if it's good or if it's bad. I suppose it's good. Carroll's a good defensive minded coach. I just don't like it. I want to see a team that sacks the quarterback on more of
Fire Ken Norton
You
Jr.
see him put forward in pass coverage.
Yeah,
almost got an interception.
It's just okay. I think Seattle's going to win this game. I think they're going to win this game comfortably, 24-13. I think they're gonna go back to the tape and they're gonna run Penny. They're gonna run Dallas. Russell's going to do what he does best off of play action, and they're going to have Lockett back. And I just think it'll be, 3 touchdowns and a field goal, and maybe Fields does something at the end to earn some garbage points.
All right. I like it. Matt, give me a prediction.
I'm going 4 touchdowns and a field goal. So 31-21, I think, with some garbage time points thrown up at the end.
Okay.
Especially just getting pocket Lockett back. That's good for 2 right there.
That changes things. Yeah. It's Russell and Lockett have always had a great chemistry, but it's really shown up this season. And I'm sure glad that Lockett's going to be on the team for a while. Millie.
So before I give my prediction, the thing that I couldn't sleep last week after our podcast was because I said something that later made me hang my head in so much shame. So nobody heard it probably really but me. And so for my 12.
No, I heard it, but I ignored it. And
Are you offering a correction here?
Yeah, no, I'd like to correct for the record that I believe that the Rams are the Seahawks kryptonite. And I said it opposite. And then I just rode that like fantasy train. I was like, yeah, we're their kryptonite. We're going to kick their asses. I mean, I thought of it later. I was like, what? It wasn't the 49ers. Like, where did you go on that train? And it was the wrong train in the wrong direction.
I think I wanted to buy into the fantasy.
And they didn't say, what are you talking about? But it's okay. I appreciate that they decided to just let me ride my fantasy train. But I had to say something for my own peace of mind, because I really did like the anxiety over the fact that I misspoke in such a way was overwhelming for me. As far as this game goes, guys, oh, no. The Bears are really bad. And I was just looking at some stats. I mean, last week they converted 2 of 12 third downs, and they were 1 of 5 in the red zone.
Yeah, that's pretty bad.
Real bad. They can put up some yard numbers, but they can't deliver. So I definitely think we win this game. I'm just not. Their defense is decent. I'm not sure that we look too much better. I think we're going to be out of sync. I think we're going to be tired. I'm still not 100% sure who we've got playing for us. So with that said, I think we win. But I don't think we're going to put up the numbers that the rest of you do. So I'm going to say it's a win, 17-7.
Oh, low score.
That's a good win.
Yeah, that's a good win.
That's a win. That's a win by 10.
Yeah.
I like it. Okay. Well, if Carlos Dunlap can repeat his performance against the Rams, we have a good shot. That was nice.
Dunlap.
He
That was
like
fun to
tripled his sacks this year, this Tuesday. That was I good for him. I like Carlos Dunlap. And then Quandre Diggs getting his 5th int of the season is always fun.
For sure.
Since he joined the Seahawks, he's got like the 2nd most interceptions in the league or something like that. Pay the man, Seahawks, pay the man. That guy, that cat is good.
Nobody runs around quite like Earl Thomas did after he got an interception, but Quandre is close, where you just see them like
yeah,
they're like carving a fish scale up the field, like trying to I'm gonna run over here, I'm gonna double back, I'm gonna run over here, I'm gonna double back. I'm faster than everybody, but eventually you'll catch me because I can't run in a straight line.
One of these days he's gonna take it to the house, and I'm gonna
scared of running a straight line. I like.
All right. Well, the Seahawks still have a mathematical shot. It's not a realistic one, but stranger things have happened. First season Pete Carroll coached the team. They went into the playoffs on a losing record and beat the Super Bowl defending Saints. So who knows? Let's jump. I want to dork out with some stuff. And Matt, since you're the guest, we're going to start with you. What are you dorking out on this week?
First, for the 5 people who've been waiting for resolution on this, I really want to circle back to the fact that I think movies have gotten darker in general. I fully admit I need to get my eyes checked, but I just want to also say there's a bunch of directors out there like Denis Villeneuve who just hate lighting. They just hate lighting scenes. They're like, no, let's just shoot this in natural lighting in
this
the
is a
desert
callback
at
to
night
the
during
episode we had a few weeks ago.
Yeah. For those really diehard Dorks on Sports fans, yes, my eyes are going bad and scenes are getting darker, but not all scenes. The thing I'm dorking out on these days, I don't read a ton of sci-fi series. Reading a book typically puts me to sleep really quickly, so it takes me a long time to get through stuff. But I'm in a book club at work, which is pretty cool. And someone suggested this. It's the dorkiest sounding title. We Are Legion. We Are Bob by Dennis Taylor. It's book 1 of the Bobaverse. And I just listened to it entirely on Audible. It's the first series I've ever listened to on Audible.
I'm already sold.
I'm listening to it in the car on the way to work and on the way home. And it's read by Ray Porter, who I haven't listened to a ton of stuff, but I've now listened to 6 books that he's narrated, and he's got to be one of the best in the biz. Just a terrific, terrific reader, storyteller, does all the different voices and accents. And the basic premise, without giving too much away, is Bob, just a guy, Bob, engineer, software engineer, did pretty well for himself. Decided he doesn't have like a family or, kids to pass money on to. So he just puts all of his money into this company that's going to basically freeze his brain, cryo freeze, just his brain, sort of capture his personality and his memories. And by the end of chapter 1, he's like out, and then he wakes up like 130 years later. And he's the only kind of successful attempt at this. Not quite an AI, more like a replicant, because it is his personality and his thoughts and his dreams. And I mean, it's a weird premise, but it really works, because 130 years from now is it's a believable level of future for us to imagine. There's a lot more war going on, like countries are fighting over different stuff, and now this guy
Yeah, I
is
know that
sort
tracks.
of, yeah. And this guy essentially has to help humanity save itself, because he's the fastest thinker, the smartest, but also still like with human intentions, not just pure AI. So I don't know. Got to the end of the first book, and I was like, you know what? I kind of want to find out what happens. And now I'm 4 books in. The last book, I don't want to like dissuade anyone from getting into it, but the last book I listened to was 12 hours long.
Wow.
That's how hooked I got on this premise and this particular narrator. So we are Legion, we are Bob. That's what I'm dorking out.
I like it. I'm going to check it out. That sounds really interesting. Millie, what are you dorking out on?
I am dorking out on holiday movies.
Excellent. Yeah. What are you watching?
Let's see. Late this afternoon, I did finally watch the second installment of The Princess Switch.
Is that a Hallmark?
Not bad. I got a Netflix. I have to
Okay.
say I've watched quite a few. I find them to be the easy candy that my brain needs right now in this time of year. And of course, there's sort of different categories: the animated and the rom-coms and the family friendly and the super saturated Santa Claus North Pole stuff. There's all these different sort of subgenres, right? My favorite so far has been the rom-com, Single All the Way. Super unfortunate title.
Great title.
But it is a gay rom-com. This man goes back home for Christmas, and he brings his friend, and everybody knows they should be together, but they're not because they're friends. And it's I just really enjoyed the story. I loved that. It's a crazy idea. His family is really nice and thoughtful, and he hasn't been an orphan since he was 2. He's not in the music industry, like all of these tropes that you get in the Hallmark stories. It's a good one, and it feels good. And even, the obstacles are not huge. It's not life and death. And it's just a really nice romantic comedy.
All right.
So,
Single All the Way.
Single All the Way is definitely my favorite. I can see why a lot of people like there's a Castle for Christmas, which is filmed entirely in Scotland, which is a bonus. And it's older people, so it's Carrie Elways and Brooke Shields.
Carrie Elways, Brooke Shields.
My goodness.
Yeah, so a rom-com for the rest of
Buried
us.
the lead, Millie. This is the movie I want to see.
And this is the movie I wanted to see too, but for me, it just didn't deliver on all levels. Brooke Shields.
Oh, don't say that.
Never got there for me,
Right.
but Brooke Shields didn't get there for me, but she may still do it for you. So,
I'm sure she does. That is a handsome woman. She is.
I have definitely been enjoying the rom-coms. I haven't found my wholesome Christmas movie yet. I'm gonna give
You have a couple more days.
A Boy Called Christmas, or A Boy Named Christmas, is on my list. I've heard some good things about that one. Or I might just rewatch Claus, which was my favorite from a couple years
These
ago.
titles all sound like, in 30 Rock, when Jack Donaghy would always pitch some TV shows to Liz Lemon. That's what these titles sound like.
Claws with a K. It's animated. It was nominated for an Academy Award. It's lovely. If you're looking for one to watch with your family, with children, Claws with a K on Netflix.
Claws with a K. All right.
K-L-A-U-S.
I've been deep in rehearsals for decidedly not holiday play. It's very intellectual and sciencey, and I haven't really been able to get into anything in the holiday spirit, but I have a tradition on Christmas Eve where at night I wrap all the gifts that I'm going to be giving my family, and I watch a Star Wars movie. And that's the Star Wars is Christmas to me because I always watch a Star Wars movie. And which is why I was really excited, when The Last Jedi came out. Well, I don't know. What was the last Star Wars movie that came out? The Rise of Skywalker.
Rise of Skywalker.
And it came out like during the Christmas season. I was like, well, yeah, Star Wars is a Christmas movie because Star Wars is a Christmas movie for me. So I was going to do that. I was going to watch some Empire Strikes Back, but Matrix Resurrection just dropped on HBO. Yeah. So I think I'm going to change up my tradition a little bit. I think I'm going to watch some Matrix Resurrection. I'm also going to try to see the new Spider-Man because the internet is just itching to spoil it for me. Curtis, what are you dorking out about?
I'm not allowed to talk about Hawkeye because
I know. See, I'm not allowed to talk about Hawkeye either.
So we'll save that.
But it was really good.
Yeah, just so enjoyable. I don't know, not a lot. We watched Charlie Brown Christmas last night with our young child.
Is this the first experience they've had with Charlie Brown Christmas?
It is. He's only just a little over 3 years old. And I think he was a little bored and kind of wanted this other kids show that's on Apple TV called Stillwater, which is this sort of Zen panda that has befriended all these young kids, and it's something that he's really into that daddy has no intention of watching with him. Just not my jam.
He's already like 6 foot tall, so he's working on his dunks on the side.
Nah.
He's 3 years old but 6 feet tall.
Yeah, he's gonna be like 8'9", by the time he's 11.
Is he gonna play for the Sonics when they come back to Seattle? That's for another podcast.
One can dream. We did the Charlie Brown Christmas. I haven't seen the Charlie Brown Christmas in a number of years. Have any of you watched that one recently?
Not recently. It has been a long time. I mean, it was a staple growing up.
It's a lot darker than I remember it being. I mean, Charlie Brown is in a deep depression from the opening credits all the way through.
Yeah, Charlie Brown was depressed about it. It's just we had the language for that.
It was, it is really, it's a short about depression during the holidays. He's just he's walking around going I don't know why everybody likes Christmas. I know I'm supposed to like this thing, but I'm just depressed. I can't get into this thing. And Linus.
Imagine a mid-pandemic Charlie Brown. Jeez.
I need it. That needs to be a special. It's a very COVID Charlie Brown.
Yeah, that one was never one of my favorite. I think I like the pumpkin one.
Oh yeah.
The Halloween one I liked more than others, but yeah, Charlie Brown's depression is just so heavy. And
I think I related to it as a kid.
As
I related to Lucy as a kid, so
No, that tracks.
Right. Yeah, I really wanted to make my own, psychiatrist is in 5 cent thing. Come talk to me. I'll fix all your problems. And they'll be mean to you. Well, before we start signing off, I do just want to say to our trolls of listeners that whatever you celebrate, and if you've already celebrated or if your celebrations are yet to come this year, happiest of holidays, happy new year. And I just hope you get to at least speak with people you love at this time of year. It's a hard time. Hang in there. And
It is a
love to
hard
everyone.
time, and like throw on our podcast if you're feeling down. We can cheer you up. You always got us.
With all of
I
our
got
paranoid
you.
thoughts.
Yeah. All right. Check out Curtis's blog, 12life.com. Matt, we really appreciate you hanging out with us and
Yeah, Matt, you were
talking on the
great.
program.
Yay,
Allanah,
Matt.
we miss you a lot. We're glad you're having a great time there in Las Vegas. My name is Daniel for Curtis, Millie, Matt, Allanah, the rest of the 12 saying goodbye and go Hawks.
Go Hawks.
Go Hawks.